Hello chaps, welcome back to Hardcore Minecraft. In the last episode, I built this big castle on a hill for a single fox. Don't ask me why, I just wanted to. But now I want to build 4 massive pumpkin and melon farms fitted with auto crafters to turn melon slices into blocks, a bulk storage system, and 30 farmer villages. The goal? To cram as many pumpkins and melons into the villages as possible so they give me infinite emeralds, golden carrots, and XP. If they didn't cooperate, I'd make them. Before I do any of that though, I have some chores to do. Every episode, I want to add things to my base to fill it out and make it as lively as possible. But first, it was time to deal with the Enderman bumming Gwen. There's a couple empty areas just outside this building. So for now, let me just get some flowers and bone meal so I can plant them just out here. I think 1.21.5 broke my fresh animations resource back. Yeah, there we go. After smoothing out the land a bit, I used bone meal to grow grass and planted some flowers. I then repeated that for this area here, but also added some small boulders. I'll probably build something in these areas in the future, but this will do for now. Having gotten fully enchanted diamond tools in the previous episode, I now want to fully enchant my diamond armour to make me virtually That was weird. Anyway, I can get pretty much all the enchanted books I need from librarian villages, but there were a couple of books I had to get elsewhere, one of them being Soul Speed 3, which I could either get from bartering with piglins, or looting bastions. I sure as hell wasn't going to do that with my current armour, so piglins it was. Gents, it was time to build a nether portal. Okay, so after an embarrassing amount of time, I've finally settled on a portal design that I'm happy with, and I'm going to build it here, mainly because it doesn't fit as well anywhere else in the base, but also because I want to fill this area up first. After getting distracted by watching these guys do some sick tricks, yeah! Woo! I outlined where I wanted the actual portal to go, then dug a small hole that I'd use to turn lava into obsidian. Okay, now the portal finished, on to the next thing. Psych, you silly slimy salami sausages seriously thought that was it? I'm gloating coin, motherfucker. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. Flint and steel. This biome. Right next to a fortress though, to barter with piglins you need gold, and I had virtually no gold. Fortunately, the nether wastes had an abundance of the stuff, and luckily there was one not too far from the portal. After carefully making my way across the dangerous— Oh my god! Never mind, we're fine. I arrived at the nether wastes and started mining gold. Once I mined enough gold and turned the nuggets into ingots, I began bartering with the locals. I did this process a few more times, and after about 40 minutes, I got Soul Speed 3. Ooh, this could be it. Yes! Let's go! Returning back to the overworld, I next turn my attention to getting all the enchanted books I need from the slaves. I mean the villagers. After performing another one of the many pumpkin and melon harvests, and trading the produce with the existing farmer villagers, I used the sugarcane growing nearby to make books, so I could, in turn, make lecterns for librarians to trade for enchanted books. So, I kidnapped one of the unemployed villagers, trapped him in a box, and spent the next few minutes trying to get any of the enchanted books I needed for overpowered armour. Huh, that was quick. Okay, that's Aqua Affinity done. Now get out. Actually, I'm just going to expand this area. Once the villagers were slightly more free range, I kept trading with the new villagers until I got Protection 4, Respiration 3, Depth Strider 3, and Feather Falling 4, which was pretty expensive, but since I'll only need it once, I just bought it. All of this took a total of 40 minutes. If you've worked with librarians before, then you know that that's not too bad. So, after disenchanting my armour, crafting a new anvil, and carefully calculating the most efficient way to enchant my armour using the least amount of XP as possible, carry the 3, add the 7, divide by Planck's constant, and subtract the weight of your mum. Oh my god, I've actually done it! I am so goddamn smart. There's a website. It's pretty useful. Link in the description. Wait, where was I? Ah yes, I began enchanting my armour as the website instructed. First the helmet, then the chest plates, and I got 2 enchantments into the boots before running out of XP. The farms I planned to build required observers, which requires quartz, which is also a fast way of getting XP, so into the nether I went. Oh wait. I'm glad I checked that. Heading back with enough quartz ore, and after first repairing my Fortune 3 pickaxe, I mined just enough quartz so I could finish enchanting my boots. The last piece of armour I needed to enchant was my leggings, and that meant only one thing. In order to fully enchant them, I would need Mending, Unbreaking 3, and Protection 4 enchanted books. Oh, this will be easy. All I need to do is buy the books from the villagers that already sell them to me. And then I remembered. In addition to those 3 enchantments, there was one more. And no, I don't mean thorns. Who actually uses thorns anyway? No, I needed Swift Sneak 3. This enchantment, when added to leggings, allows me to move significantly faster while crouching. The only issue is that it can be found solely in an ancient city. Back in 2022, Mojang added this structure that generates deep underground, and with it, the Warden. The Warden is so strong that it can two-shot you in fully unenchanted netherite armour. To this day, just over 3 years later, I have not once set foot in an ancient city before. So naturally, my underwear were turning brown just thinking about it. However, I had a plan. A quick side note, I just installed the Better Leaves resource pack, which made my leaves furry. Part 1 of my plan is to get a load of wool, so I did just that. And began my journey. What's with the wool, you ask? You see, in order to not encounter the Warden, you have to avoid triggering a Skulk Shrieker. Skulk Shriekers are triggered by Skulk sensors that detect nearby things that make noise, like opening a chest or breaking a block. You can only trigger a Shrieker 3 times before... Well, shit. By surrounding it in wool, it stops nearby sensors from detecting me break it, allowing me to open chest without accidentally spawning the Warden. Oh look, we're at the cave system above the ancient city. How do I know this? Also, stop asking for my seed, it's disgusting. I'll give it to you in the future. After descending into the depths, I reached the deep dark biome. Shit. Come on, let me just break. Are you f- 2 down. 0 chances remaining. If I triggered even just one more Shrieker, I'd be cooked. It's very dark down here, and I only have 19 torches. Screw it. Yeah, I can hear your greasy fingers typing in the comments. Give me a break, I haven't done this before. Finally being able to see better, I tunneled through the cave wall. Boys, we were in. I slowly made my way over to the first chest, destroyed the Skulk sensor, and opened it. Can you imagine if that was Swift Sneak 3 in the first chest I opened? Okay, well, I now need either another one of those or just a Swift Sneak 3 book on its own. Huh. I'll take the free diamond hoe. I spent the next half an hour looting the ancient city, slowly making my way around to every chest and using free cam to make sure I had destroyed all the nearby Shriekers. Ooh, an armor trim. Hey, there it is. I may as well finish looting the place. I want to see if I can get that really cool armor trim too. Unfortunately, I did not find the armor trim I wanted, so after quickly tunneling out, I went back to the base and finished enchanting my leggings. I was finally unkillable. All I needed now was to upgrade my armor to netherite and to get a totem of undying, but that's for future episodes. In order to build the fully automatic pumpkin and melon farms, I needed a lot of materials, including rails, hoppers, hopper minecarts, autocrafters, and pistons, all of which require iron. That's right, idiots, it's time to build an iron farm. After picking a design I liked, link in the description, I began getting a lot of cobblestone to build it. Okay, that took a lot longer than I expected. Now time to get the villagers and zombies in. This'll be fun. Once the third zombie was where it needed to be, I made some soul campfires to kill the iron golems that were already spawning. If you didn't know, and neither did I at the time, soul campfires deal twice as much damage as the regular campfires, meaning the iron golems would die faster. After getting the last zombie I needed in, I rearranged the storage system to fill out one chest at a time, rather than 3. These villagers kept trying to pathfind back to the beds in the breeder, so I trapped them in a boat, broke the beds, and... Are you...
Hello there.
Oh, Jesus, you spawn out of nowhere. The last thing to do to finish the farm off was to add the lava. It took me, I kid you not, 6 hours to build, start to finish. It works by having this zombie bounce up and down, scaring this pod of 3 villagers, which causes them to spawn an iron golem every so often, and there are 8 pods. Yes. Before actually building the pumpkin and melon farm, I wanted to improve the base a bit more, namely, finishing the walls that surround the paths and adding a new building. First though, this area in front of the portal. For this area here, I want to start by adding a path connecting these 2 openings in the walls and the portal. Next I want to add some leaves for bushes to sort of enclose this area. I actually think a cherry blossom would look quite cool here, and maybe some more just scattered about the place. With that in mind, I travelled to a nearby cherry biome, collected these petal things, and some cherry tree saplings. Oh, I don't think there's enough room for it to grow here. What if I move the chest? No. Hang on, let me try this. Hey, there we go, and I'll just do that. Now for the rest of this area. And a lantern just here. Yeah, I like that. Maybe a small pond here too. I then went around the whole base, adding cherry blossoms. I think it adds a nice touch. I also added this decking area here, which I didn't finish, and somehow completely forgot to finish for the rest of the video. Next, it was time to add the rest of the path walls. As you can see, the walls abruptly end just before the portcullises. I still want to do something with these, but I can't think of a way to transition out of the walls. I didn't build walls where some of the animal pens were, since I wanted to eventually transform them and build proper barns and stuff. However, there was one more thing that needed my attention before starting the main project of this video. Gwen. In episode 1, there was an enderman walking about while I was constructing the roof of the central building of my base, so I trapped it in a boat and called her Gwen. Fast forward 100 hours or so, and now I want to build her a house. After a really long time of designing it, I eventually settled on something greatly inspired by this Reddit post, so after picking a good spot for it within the base, I started building. Finally, it was time to move Gwen in. There you go, Gwen. A nice house, even fitted with a fireplace. Let's make it official. And now for the interior. Bye Gwen, enjoy your new home. I know it's a little harsh, but don't worry. She's an emotionally strong, independent woman. I'll build her a kitchen in the future. And with that, boys, it was finally time to start building the melon and pumpkin farm. I started by outlining where the farms would go. I made sure that they'd be fully contained within a chunk. That way, if I wanted the farms to run even while I was too far away to load them, I could easily build ender pearl chunk loaders beneath them to keep them running. Next, I flattened the area and covered up the old melon and pumpkin farm and the slave workers with dirt. We can't have their filth making my monopoly look bad. I took some of the many oak logs from my storage room to use for crafting, as well as setting up a raised large spruce tree farm to use for building. I raised it because when a large spruce tree grows, it also grows brown. I started by laying out where the chests would go. When building the actual farms, I don't want to waste any of the produce due to me not having anywhere to store it. Taking some iron from my new iron farm, and those oak logs I mentioned earlier, I crafted a bunch of hoppers and chests. After placing some of the chests, I realised I wouldn't need as many, since the farms wouldn't fill the storage that quickly, and I'd empty it every now and then during the lifetime of this playthrough. Once the storage was in place, I added these composters to the tops of all the hoppers, which is where the items will flow into, because this somehow makes the hoppers less laggy, and since I'll eventually fill up this whole area with loads of builds, I still want to be able to run the game and not have a pile of molten PC components next to me. In order to start building the farms, I needed a lot of redstone. Just one single farm module requires a lot more redstone than the 2 stacks I had to my name. There was the redstone rails, the redstone blocks to power the redstone rails, pistons to break the pumpkins and melons, the observers to detect when the pumpkins and melons had grown, and the redstone dust to tell the pistons to fire. So naturally, I went mining. Just over 30 minutes into the mining session and things were looking good. I had a decent amount of redstone and a few diamonds too. I was just clearing out some of the pests when all of a sudden... Wait a minute. Is that... Oh my god.
Chicken jockey.
Yes! I am Steve. Clinton Steve. Back on the surface, I used Fortune 3 on the diamonds and redstone. Oh, look at that. So much redstone. That'll last me ages. No, it won't. You stupid cunt. Crafting some of the pistons and observers, I realised I was completely out of cobblestone. These 2 recipes use a lot. So after quickly filling in the area for the farmland, I went on a 15-minute cobble mining session. Not long after building the platform for the rails, planting the first layer of pumpkins, and placing a few of the pistons and observers, did I realise I needed to gather another material to make the crops grow. Glowstone. What on earth? Is he riding a golden chicken? Oh yeah, Mojang added warm and cold chicken variants.
Chicken jock.
Oh my god, just die. Wait, will these pigmen get angry if you hit them with a fireball? What the actual fuck? Why is my character doing that? I placed the glowstone to provide light for the pumpkins to grow, and added the rest of the pistons and observers, the redstone dust, and the rails for the hopper minecart to collect the pumpkin drops, completing the first layer of the first farm tower. Before building more layers, I needed to build a minecart unloading station, but oh, what's that? Oh no, I need more building materials? Why did I make this so big? Using the granite, I gave both the farm and collection towers a trim. Shortly before working on the first melon farm layer, let's run through the steps once more. Redstone blocks, rails, unloading station, farmland, water, glowstone, crops, observers, pistons, redstone dust, as well as adding glass to stop the items from falling out. Now that I had a pumpkin and melon layer slowly reaching maximum output, I needed to transport the items away from the unloading station to the bulk storage as quickly as possible to avoid overloading it. Hoppers would be too slow for my liking, so I needed another option. The plan? Water. Once the items were deposited into the unloading station, I wanted a mechanism to shoot them out into a water stream, shot down the stream, since there'll be frictionless blue ice underneath, into an item elevator, and dropped off into the hoppers I mentioned earlier to be stored. The melon slices, however, would first run through autocrafters to turn them into full blocks, before then going into the item elevator. In short, I needed blue ice. So, using chunk base to find an ice spikes biome, which was surprisingly close, I travelled there and started getting ice. Ooh, that's not a lot of blue ice. Let me just check something real quick. Okay, turns out packed ice is just as good for item transportation. I guess I'll save this blue ice for a future project. To start, I built the item transportation pipes coming out of the ground to connect into the storage system, digging out an area underneath the farms, and building the frame for the item water streams. Next, I set up the melon autocrafters, collected a bunch more sand for glass, smelted some of it in the smeltery building, added the transport pipe into the item elevator for the pumpkins, and added the water, which was a pain. Then, the item droppers for the left side of the pumpkin and melon farms, right underneath the unloading station. The items are flowing down the streams and going into the bubble elevator into the storage. And yep, the melons are going through the autocrafters and turning into blocks. Nice. I think I'll make the streams going into these pipes the same level. It's annoying me. I don't know why the items are laggy though. After unifying the pumpkin and melon farm mergers to the same height, I decided to check on the iron farm. And this is where I'd get my answer. Oh, it's overflowing. Oh, it's overflowing. I set up an automatic composter system and spent the next 10 minutes crafting iron ingots into blocks and then filtering out the roses. Shortly after, I added the trim to the remaining 3 towers, replicated the item droppers and transport on the right side of the build, and covered up the autocrafters with dirt. So, keeping in mind that I did not have all the materials to hand, allow me to condense the next 15.5 hours into a few minutes. Why am I now a black man? So after a very long time, the quad 4-module tall pumpkin and melon farm towers were finally complete. There were a few things that happened while building the farms, so let me catch you up to speed. After realizing I needed a huge amount of redstone, too much for my peanut-sized blob of a brain to comprehend, I went back into the nether, killed some blazes, and used their rods to make brewing stands to get cleric villagers. Why? They sell redstone. In order to not dig up the Sahara Desert, I did the same with the existing librarian villagers, as they would eventually sell me glass. Since, while building the farms, they'd increasingly produced more pumpkins and melons, I was able to afford all this redstone and glass by trading the farm's produce for emeralds. Infinitely. Next, due to the fact that both pistons and observers require a stupid amount of cobblestone, I set up a small AFK-able stone generator. Sitting at that for a total of a couple hours, it allowed me to walk away from my PC and do more important things. Like gooning. There are a couple of smaller other things, like planting a small oak tree farm and periodically mining for more gold for the powered rails, but that's about it. After spending several hours and several iterations in a creative world copy, I had finally come up with a central building design that I was pretty happy with. This would encase the storage system and house all the farmer villagers I'd trade with. This time, I'd gather all the materials I need before building. I decided to leave my comfort zone in terms of building materials, so I decided to make the majority of this building out of green and red terracotta. Once again, using chunk base, I found a mesa biome about 10 minutes away, travelled there and started mining. Once back, I made some spruce planks, stairs, and chopped down some trees for stripped logs. Most of the materials I needed I had scattered around my chests, like regular deep slate, tuff, polished tuff, barrels, spruce slabs, composters, and other miscellaneous things that I could easily craft. I even went back to the castle I built in the last episode and took a load of cobbled deep slate that I had stored there. Damn, this farm's a bit too good. I originally came down here to get bone meal to get more glow lichen. One of the materials I needed was basalt, so I attempted to set up a basalt generator. Turns out I needed soul soil, not soul sand. So I went into the nether and... Oh wait, why didn't I just come here for the stuff? Next on the material list was a bunch of stuff that could be found in a lush cave biome. So after travelling to where I last saw an azalea tree on the surface, I dug down, making sure to get the rooted dirt for any future projects, and sure enough, I ended up in a lush cave. Oh, an axolotl. I don't have a bucket. Hang on, let me just make one real quick. Hey, there we go. While I'm here, may as well get another one in case I want to breed them together. So I waited around for a bit, used free cam to search for more, and spotted one swimming about. And there's the other one. Okay, time to head back now. I then used the rooted dirt to grow hanging roots, bone mealed hanging vines to get more glowberries, and built this stone platform to get more azalea bushes. Growing the bushes, I used shears to harvest the leaves. In order to get the green terracotta, I needed to dye some of the terracotta I already had, so I travelled back to the mesa biome, since I remember seeing some cacti that I could use to make the green dye, and also collected some clay, which I'll eventually use for bricks. Returning back to the base, I made a small cactus farm so I could grow more while getting the rest of the materials. At this point, I had virtually all the materials I needed to start building the trading hall. However, there was a few things I needed to change about the farms that I just built. Following a call with my artistic friend, they basically told me that the colour palettes looked shit, that I was a failure and should kill myself. So, taking their advice, about the colour issue that is, I spent the next 3.5 hours swapping out the polished granite for deep slate bricks. In between this time, I laid out some copper trapdoors to oxidize and set up the beehives, which I collected in episode 1, behind the towers to get honeycomb. If you use honeycomb on copper, it waxes it, preventing it to oxidize any further. In addition to this, I also moved the item elevator pipes closer to where the building was going to be. Once a few of the copper trapdoors were oxidized enough, I started putting them on the sides of the farm towers to add a bit of depth and contrast. Once I had all the oxidized trapdoors I needed, I replaced the aging ones with copper blocks and finally added the rest of the trapdoors to the towers. Gentlemen, it was time to start building the trading hall. If you've enjoyed the video so far, consider subscribing. I've got big plans for this world, like transforming the entire valley, making loads of automatic farms, building something in this cool cave I found last episode, and much more. This video took me just over 54 hours to record, plus even more time writing the script and editing, so your support would truly mean a lot. Once the main building was complete, there were still a couple more things I needed to finish off, namely moving the villagers in, but also adding oxidized copper rings to these holes in the wall. But since the copper blocks are still aging, I'll do the villagers first. I'll save you the hassle of moving these annoying bold f***s into their cells. Most of them would trade for pumpkins and melons, but for those who wouldn't, well. While waiting for the villagers to grow up, I took down the stone generator and removed the old pumpkin and melon farm underground, as well as blending some of the terrain together. After getting the last villager into its forever prison, it was at this point in the process when I found out that copper had to be at least 5 blocks apart to age faster, and this whole time, they were only 3 blocks apart. I then spaced them out, and sure enough, they started to oxidize significantly faster. So, getting the last copper ring installed, the build was finally complete. You know, I'm really happy with the way this turned out, considering it's my first time building with this colour palette. There were still a few things I wanted to do to really finish it off. For example, properly merging the terrain, detailing the outside with some greenery and other small things, as well as connecting it to the main base by adding a big road. But that's for the next episode.